lived-in precision, and empowering concept. Hair fashion continues to be told through a visual and wearable stories. Shake up the imagination. Think past happy eras, the roaring 20s, the summer of love in the 60s, and the loved-up rave scene of the 80s. Consumers will seek out looks that stimulate and make proactive or confident statements. Rise up and rediscover the joy in design. Embrace the opportunity, and most of all, have fun.
Sam will be demonstrating the Christie Shag. This shape reaches back using classic geometric techniques, but moves us forward in trends with inspiration from anime. To begin this haircut, Sam starts from the high point of the head, taking a vertical line moving down to the front of the ear. He's isolating the front of the hair to begin a fringe. This haircut is all about breaking the rules. Notice Sam is working on dry hair that has been prepared with One United from Redken. You can now see how Sam has created an extended fringe area in the front of the head. In order to have this fringe wrap around the head shape, you want to be thoughtful about where you start the line of cutting, especially when you're working on dry hair. Notice Sam's sectioning as he breaks this larger section into smaller subsections. Using a blousing technique, you can see how smaller subsections are created to give more control over the shape. Now, using the wide teeth of his Samvia cutting comb, Sam is going to establish the cutting line using a scanning technique to create softness as he establishes the perimeter. Based on the density of the hair and that it has been pre-prepared and is dry, allows Sam to take the entire section and compress it into one area as he cuts. Continuing through the fringe area, notice how the hair is working through its natural falling position to give control over the end result of the perimeter line in the fringe. Sam continues with the scanning technique to create that softness and movement in the fringe. As you work through the fringe, remember to continually check the consistency in your perimeter line. Now, taking another subsection, follow your line and cut the fringe. When working with geometric shapes and wanting to have precision in your lines, dry cutting is the ideal setup. By preparing the hair with the right product and drying it into exactly where the client will be wearing it ensures getting the cut right the first time versus having to go back and correct once you've dried the hair when you cut wet. You can see from this top view as Sam demonstrates why we need hair to be in natural falling position and the blousing technique to continually separate those subsections in the large fringe area. Notice how Sam has his client turning her head towards him as he cuts. This allows him to have a perfect perspective to keep consistency in the line of the perimeter. Another hot tip for consistency is as the hair is being held by the wide teeth of the comb, you can secure the hair into place by gently tapping the top of your section with your shears. This helps to line up the hair and keep it accurate as you work through a strong perimeter line. As Sam continues through the perimeter, notice how deep his shears are inserting into that perimeter line with his scanning technique. This is something that can change based on the density or the texture of the hair. If you're working with fine, low-density, straight hair, the shears in the scanning technique would not insert the hair as deep as when you're working with thick, high-density, coarse hair. By having control over how far you insert your shears in the hair to point cut or scan the hair can give you more control to the end result. Now here's where we start making the fringe come alive. Taking vertical sections, elevate the fringe towards the back of the crown till you find that corner right there. And then using the scanning technique, just take that corner out. This helps to bevel the fringe and soften and add movement. Continue through the fringe with that elevation technique, cutting the corners until you've completed through the line. Now moving to the side of the head, this section starts at the high point of the head and is the width of the ear. We already know what your little voice is saying. Sam's cutting on dry hair with a razor? That's right. Remember, this is a rule-breaking haircut, but also product plays an important role. Sam uses Redken's One United as a cutting lotion to help nourish and condition the hair as he works with the razor tool in this shape. Taking horizontal subsections, moving up from the bottom to the top of the head, Sam can continue consistency in that perimeter line based on the guide from underneath. Now watch how the razor moves. It starts in the front and continues to cut to the center. Then it starts in the back to meet the front. This is what helps give an even, consistent line from right to left in the perimeter shape. Now here's another hot tip. As you secure the hair, think about where is your comb going and how does it stay out of the way when you're working with your razor. You can see here how Sam is holding his comb and intentionally moving it back and away from his cutting line so it doesn't interfere with his precision. You can really see the geometric shape coming alive between the fringe and that perimeter line strategically hitting right on her jawbone. Move to the other side and just repeat as you did on the first. Notice how Sam is holding the hair to secure it with tension. This is an ideal time to use your mirror. You can have one side of your client faced in the mirror as you continue to cut the opposite side. This will help maintain consistency of where the strength of that perimeter line is hitting on her jaw. Now let's move to the interior of the haircut. Typically, to remove weight and length, we would use shears, but remember, we're breaking all the rules. We found a great tool in the Samvia collection is the Samvia 14 tooth point cutting shear. This can accurately remove weight as it also removes length. And look at that shape it creates. The line of graduation in the back should visually connect to that perimeter on the side of her face. Working through the back of the head, continue to elevate the hair using the texture shear to remove length and weight at the same time. This can be an incredible time saver. Look at that shape come to life. The movement is absolutely incredible. Notice as he works closer to the ear, Sam is elevating and over-directing towards the back to have control over where the graduation and weight line lives in this shape. This movement is beautiful. And notice the difference in the length of the perimeter on either side. As Sam continues to break the rules, he started with the interior of the cut versus the perimeter, yet the perimeter is being affected. This is all part of the success of cutting on dry hair. Cutting needs to be a visual experience. You need to watch what's happening and can do that so successfully on dry hair versus wet hair. Now remember, you can use a razor on dry hair, but the important thing is that you're continuing to use a fresh blade. You need to change the blade sometimes many times through one haircut on dry hair. With the blade, Sam is fanning out the hair and having control with diagonal sectioning to remove weight. Depending on how much weight you want to remove or disrupt from the ends, depends on the line of diagonal that you take through that section. You can see as Sam manipulates the hair, the texture that comes out. You want to continue with this technique through the entire back of the shape to help emphasize pieciness and movement in the perimeter of the haircut. Now, let's finish this shape. Sam is using a combination of Tool, which is the Sam Via Vision Blow Dryer, partnered with Redken Wax Blast 10, a fine wax mist. The combination of these together gets your client excited for the end result. You can see how it makes the interior come alive and shows off all of that great movement that came from the interior of the cut. Yet the strong geometric lines in the perimeter make it something special and unique. For the final touch, reach for Redken's Fashion Work 12. This hairspray gives touchable feel with movement, so there's control, yet still life in the shape. And here we have the Christie Shag. Classic precision and geometrics with movable interior and texture. We need to learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist. This rule-breaking shape will capture your client's attention and create a new, show-stopping look.